Namaskar. My best wishes to you all on the World Day for Cultural Diversity, for Development, and for Dialogue. This is an important day, and we all must celebrate this day with with our full enthusiasm and its gravity. In today's scenario, it is further more important to realize and understand the importance of this day because this day brings the world together. This world has tremendous diversity across the world. We have different kinds of people across the world who have their own culture, own tradition, own heritage, own history, and with their own logics. And they all are correct in their own manner. They all are prevailing, they all are continuing with their own traditions and customs. They all are preserving their cultures. And we all must respect and regard variety of cultures, diverse culture in the world. And the culture itself has tremendous importance and impact on our life. We all know that when we think of culture, it is not only what we exhibit, it is much more and much beyond than that. Culture is what we internalize. Culture is how we live, culture is how we behave, culture is how we think. Our entire psychology, entire psyche of our life denotes our culture. And the prayer for the culture, when we say culture, we pray the God, we pray to the God that God, please give us the strength to preserve and to internalize whatever good in this world. That is why when we start with the prayer of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amrutam Gamaya. Take from take me from falsehood to truth, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. So these are the prayers which makes us feel that we all are part of this one world which prevails different kinds of culture in it, and together we build a society where everyone has the right to live in his or her own way. So that's the beauty of the culture, and that's the beauty of the diversity. In today's pandemic situation, when we are all facing tough situations, and we all are in a mode of introspection. Everybody is introspecting within himself. He is introspecting his relations with the society. He is introspecting his relation with the nature, and he is introspecting his relation with the culture and behavior. And lot of things are emerging from his mind. Lot of things are coming out of his mind. Those all are very important and very prevalent. And those things have to be understood, realized. And it is not only the exhibition which evolves through somebody's creativity, that is culture. Some of the most natural things which we do in our life also gives an essence of culture, how we are behaving, how we are managing our life, how we are thinking, how we are conversing with each other, how our behavior is depending on the other person's behavior. This is a vast plethora of activities which everything brings together to the field of culture. So when people say that culture is a soft power, I strongly refute that, and not only me, many of us would agree to this, that culture is not the soft power; it is the strong power. It is in fact the strongest power, because that is the essence of our life. That is the fiber of life. If economics is importance for our external survival, culture is important for our internal survival. As a human being, if I am surviving, I am only surviving because of my culture, which I have imbibed through my traditions, through my customs, through my old heritage. And that is how I grow. And that is how a person grows when he imbibes these things through ages. And culture is flowing, it's not static. It changes, it gets different molds according to the time, according to the need of the time. A thing which is static will not be known as culture. A thing which is static will only stand at one point and will become some kind of a monument. But culture is not a monument. It is a flowing river. It flows along with time. It flows along with generation. It flows along with the needs and requirements of the society. And that is how culture becomes the basic fiber, basic fabric of our life. In today's pandemic, we all have realized that the generation, the society which lost its connect with its original culture is suffering the most. The society which has still its connect to its roots, which still has some kind of a correlation with its roots, with its traditions, with its cultural traditions, is 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 comfortably sailing through these pandemic. When I say comfortably, I know that it's not easy for anyone to sail through this pandemic, but still, as compared to others, the sailing is a little easier for them. Because when Maharshi Arvind uh, when Maharshi Arvind told regarding the Indian culture, it is a very beautiful line which I would love to quote. When we look at the past of India, what strikes us next is her stupendous vitality, her inexhaustible power of life and joys of life, her almost unimaginably prolific creativeness. For 3000, at least it is indeed much longer, she has been creating abundantly and increasingly, lavishly, and inexhaustible many sideness, republics and kingdoms and empires and philosophers and sciences and creeds and arts and poems and all kinds of monuments, places and temples and public works, communities and societies and religious orders, laws and codes and rituals, physical sciences, system of yoga, system of politics, administration, arts, spiritual and worldly trades, industries, fine arts. The list is endless, and in each item there is almost a plethora of activity. So that kind of vastness we had in our culture in India, and I am sure that everybody who has some kind of respect for his or her culture must be having this kind of a vastness in their own culture also. So it is very important to respect and regard everybody's culture wherever it is, however it is preserved, and whoever is practicing, because culture is a repository of collective efforts of what all has been created, either in tangible or intangible forms, in a particular time, and becomes a source of communication for generations to come. Culture usually consists of the beliefs, behavioral pattern, objects, customs, traditions, attitudes, values, norms, ideas, symbols, and other characteristics common to the members of a particular society. Through culture, people and group define themselves, conform to society's shared values, and contribute to society. We have seen that Indian society has subscribed to these words and followed them in word and spirit. And that is why it is more important for us to know whether a person is only educated or he is cultured too. Because only education is not going to serve, it is not going to survive unless a person is cultured. He cannot take his education, his knowledge beyond a certain sphere. You have to have culture, and And if you have a culture, if you have imbibed some kind of values in your life, I think it is much more than really getting a formal sort of education or a degree or a diploma. And culture is what we inherit from our family, inherit from our gurus, inherit from our teachers, inherit from the society. And what we inherit from the society, we give it back, we pay it back to the society. And that is why there is a very nice shlok in Vishnu Puran, and people often try to practice that. Jivane yavadadanam syat pradanam tatodikam. Whatever I have received, I have got, give me strength to repay, to give back to the society much more than what I have earned or what I have achieved or what I have got. Jivane yavadadanam syat pradanam tadodikam Ittesha Prathana Smakam Bhagavan Paripuritam. This is the only prayer I pray to the God, that whatever I have received from the society, give me the strength, give me the capability that I can return much more than that. Why people say this? Because we want to add to something. We want add value to our culture. We want to add some kind of a ethos, some kind of a moral values to the culture, and that is we want to pay back to the society. And look what has really made us comfortable in this situation, in this pandemic situation. The roots of our culture. This is the same yoga. This is the same Ayurveda. This is the same rituals and customs which were in practice through the ages. Somehow we lost track. Somehow we couldn't remember. Somehow we couldn't remember that doing namaskar is much more respectful and much more graceful than doing a shake hand. Or somehow we forgot that uh, cleaning your hands before taking your meals is more important, because we bring germs to the house, and those germs are there in our hands. Or washing your hand and feet, changing your cloth when you come from the outside is a normal routine. Even in today, there are families which would not allow you to sit in the kitchen and have food unless you change your clothes. Sometimes you call them orthodox, but everybody has a logic, because food is cooked inside the kitchen, and that goes directly into our intestine and our system. And if we bring germs from outside and put those, I mean, put they are either there in our clothes or in our hand, and somehow if they go inside, it is going to spoil health of everybody. These are the logics, simple logics. And small things which denotes the culture has always been there in practice in our Indian tradition, in our Indian customs. And those things, once are revived, once are given, once are again remembered, our life became relatively smoother in this, even in this situation of pandemic. Yoga and pranayam has been there in practice. Everybody was asked to do some kind of yoga, surya namaskar, during the during your course of day. Everyday exercise was a compulsory schedule, and it's not related to a particular religion or a particular belief or a particular sect. Doing some kind of an exercise, doing some kind of a vocal exercise, even if you chant om, you are doing some kind of a vocal exercise, some kind of a breathing exercise. If you are doing pranayam, you are doing the breathing exercise. For instance, there is a beautiful pranayam known as Brahmari pranayam. And what does that Brahmari pranayam do? It cleanses your entire mind, clutter in your mind. Today we all use computer, we all use mobile phones, and there is a recycle bin which clears the clutter in your system. And for clearing the clutter in your mind, you have this Brahmari pranayam which clears entire clutter in your mind. It's a beautiful scientific method. And and once it was there in practice, people used to have so many things in their mind. But today, unfortunately, what we have done is we have surrendered our creative and imaginative capability to these instruments. These instruments are there to help us out. But unfortunately, what we have done is we have surrendered our capability to this. And our culture has always taught us to keep your things, your strengths alive. And that is why there was a chakra theory. We have 7 chakras in our body, and these chakras denote different capabilities, different strengths of our behavior. Some school of thought start from top to bottom, some school of thought start from bottom to top. In whatever manner they are, each chakra has importance, and each chakra denotes some kind of a capability in your body, in your prana, in your atma. And that is how you ignite yourself, and everybody has that kind of a capability. And that is why when the philosophy said that each one has the capability, each one is very special, everyone is a special human being, not a single person uh, is as another person. I think even the fingerprints do not match among more than 2 lakh people. So those kinds of variety, and that is the variety which the eternity has developed. So for the eternity, everyone is special, and that is why everyone has the capability of that kind. And in our tradition, it is said that once you ignite your chakras, your body is cleansed, and then you work to the fullest of the capability. And that is why we sometime are surprised. I mean, he's as good as me, but he can do so many things and I cannot do. Why? Because he has attuned himself or herself, she has attuned himself or herself to that kind of a divinity, that kind of divine power, which we are unable to do. So all that philosophy, all that logic existed in our culture and tradition, and our ancestors have put that in beautiful scientific explanations. Like one small explanation, I am not an expert in this, I am only a small practitioner. But if I can understand this much, I know that learned people like you can understand much more than that. That all these things had great logic behind this. So, like if we have Sahasrar Chakra, if we have Agya Chakra, if we have Vishuddha Chakra, if we have Anahat Chakra, if we have Manipur Chakra, if we have Swadhisthana Chakra, if we have Mooladhara Chakra, I mean, these all chakras in my body are somehow connected to the divine power, are somehow connected to the nature, which gives me strength and energy to fight with any kind of problem, fight with any kind of trouble, fight with any kind of challenges. Those challenges may be psychological, those challenges may be physical, those challenges may be health wise, those challenges may be environment wise, but the human body has the capability to face all these challenges. And through our rich tradition, people have been practicing on this. But unfortunately, somewhere, somehow, we lost track. I often quote this example, but how we have surrendered our capability. I mean, people of my age maybe remembering that when they were young, or maybe even when they were of the age of say 35, 40, they would easily remember 2 to 300 telephone numbers. But just count how many numbers today you can remember. And it is not only the stage you are facing, it is even the youngsters are facing. Even the youngsters are unable to remember even 5 6 telephone numbers, because we have surrendered the capability of remembering these things in our mind. Today, when it's today we see a state of affair where even small kids, I will say kids because they are within the age of 28 to 42, 30, 35, they are getting heart attacks. They are becoming diabetic of stress. Why it is happening? Because we have missed track with our cultural tradition, with our way of life. Because our way of life had a very scientific method of explaining everything. So culture related culture, imbibed with science, culture imbibed with logic, was always there to help us to guide our life. Today, unfortunately, we have missed that guide, and that is why we are facing trouble in our life, in our day-to-day life. This pandemic has done one good thing, that it has made us remember all those traditions and cultural traditions and our wealth which we had with us. It made us remember, it made us feel that somewhere, somehow we lost the track. And and it is a good time to again revive, again recollect, again reorganize, again rearrange those things. These kind of problems may come. There may be some geological problem. We face cyclones somehow. Sometimes it is flood. Sometimes it is earthquake. These are also there are also problems, or infighting between the countries, or some kind of a pandemic like this. These things may come because this is the cycle of nature. But the beauty of human being is that human being has the capability to fight and overcome with all these things. They may be man-made, they may be natural, but we have the capability. But if we lose the track of our own capability, then only we are to be blamed. So this opportunity is a golden opportunity to again recapture the things where we lost track and put us back on the track. Because eminent people have said, and what we have done is we have thought that culture is only a soft power which works as a subordinate agent in our life. We forgot that culture is not a subordinate power. Culture is a major power. It does not help in our life, it creates our life. We think that economics makes our life, or we think politics makes our life. But even economics or even politics cannot survive until unless it has a strong roots in its culture. Economics without culture is of no use. Politics without culture is of no use. And we have seen that wherever politics has lost its roots from culture, it, it, it created disaster. Wherever economics loses roots from its culture, it creates disaster. So culture has to be there wherever we are, because it is not something which is doing something to you parallelly. It is imbibed in my life. It is imbibed in my character. It is imbibed in my body. I cannot remove culture out of my body, and if I remove culture out of my body, there is no difference between me and an animal. So that importance has to be understood about culture. Often, um, people think that if I can sing, if I can dance, if I can paint, if I can create something, if I write, that is all culture. No, it's only a part of culture which is a medium of expression. Some people are genius and highly talented who can express their capability through this. But every one of us is a creator. Every one of us has some kind of a creative ability. Even the smallest of the small things require some kind of an imagination and creativity which every human being has. There are some exceptional people who can expose their creativity to such an extent which attracts attention of others. They are genius, they are great creators, they are artists. But every one of us is an artist, small artist, but we are all artists because we all create something. And if we all create something, we should understand the importance of that culture within ourselves. If we forget that importance, then we are losing the track. We are going beyond the track. So what I am trying to suggest is that please understand the essence of culture. And if we understand the essence of culture, we will realize that after this pandemic, I know that it is not over. People have already started discussing about post-COVID. I sometimes very humbly ask them, are you really serious about the fact that COVID is over, or it is still continuing? Because we don't know what would be the final scene post COVID, because still we have not stabilized its impact. Still we have not assessed the harm it has done, the damage it has done to our life. Still we have not assessed. So still it is time to really jump onto conclusions of what is going to happen post COVID. But my dear friends, let me assure you and let me tell you very frankly that whatever may be the final outcome or result, it is only the culture and only the culture which is going to decide the future course of your life, which is going to decide how you keep yourself in years to come, how you are serving to this mankind in next future. This is only for the culture to decide. No one else has the capability to decide, because we have seen the fate of economy. We have seen the fate of sociology. We have seen the fate of science, technology. I often remember 20 years back, there was a problem known as Y2K, and the whole world was terrorized. What is going to happen? Year 2000. And that was supposed to create some kind of a disaster in the whole digital technology. So the digital technology on which we are very heavily relying upon would have entirely crumbled. So and just even today, what is happening? A small virus which is even not visible. Nobody can see what is coronavirus, where it is, and it has terrorized the entire world. So you don't know from where you are going to get this kind of threats to the human life, but it is only your cultural capability and strength, your inner strength, which is going to take you forward to this, which is going to sail you safely. So we must all understand this importance and the nuances of culture. And once we understand the nuances of the culture or importance of the culture, I am sure that no one no one can really terrorize or can really create a threat for our life, because once we know our own capabilities, and again I am repeating, each one has tremendous capabilities. No one is lesser than anyone else. Each one has the tremendous capability, but we must all use this capability to do something good to this humankind. Today is an important day because we are discussing about cultural diversity and development. And development only comes when two persons come together and work in an harmonious manner for the betterment of the society. And that is the importance. So if two souls come together and do something good for the society, it is really going to create an asset for the future. So when we think of the scenario, the challenges are immense. The challenges are beyond any comparison. I mean, I'm not talking about the challenges of professional life. There is a great threat, but I'm talking about much, much deeper things, like challenges in my social behavior, challenges of my personal behavior, challenges of my professional behavior. Everything is going to change during the course of time. And if those things are going to change during the course of time, we have to understand how we are going to tackle with these, how we are going to fight with these. Because because I don't know, uh, in India, it is not still a very serious threat, but in Western world it is a serious threat. That other than the medical problem, the entire world is facing a severe psychological problem. It is a psychological trauma. In India, we are fortunate to have the tradition of family. We have good family bonds because India is the country which taught the entire world the term Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We told that Ayam Nijo Pareveti Ganana Lagu Chetasam. This is mine, this is yours. These are the thoughts of people who have narrow mind. Udar Charitanam tu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. People who have large heart. They think that the entire world is their family. But in India, we still have these strong family bonds, strong family connections. That is why we know that father, mother, brother, sister, they all can come together and live in a family. We all know that even my brother to brother, my co-brother, my sister-in-law, everyone is a part of my family. So those family bonds boost our moral. We always think that I am not alone. I am there with my family. There are people to take care of me. Even if I am alone at some place, my family is there somewhere nearer, which takes care of me, even if they are at a distant place. They are thinking about me. They are worrying about me. They are asking about my welfare. This is the family bond which India has since the ages. And fortunately, even today, it still continues. Although many of us would feel that it has deteriorated. Yes, it has deteriorated, but it has not phased out. It is still there. And this pandemic has again strengthened the strength. It has strengthened the family bonds. It has given strength to this family bond. Because now people have realized that this family bond has the capability to fight. This can take us through this pandemic. But in Western world where most people are alone, or even if they are living with the family, the bonds are not that strong. So the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of emptiness is really cropping in their heart, crawling in their minds. All are worried during the course of lockdown when they are at home. They are only seeing their own face. They are not seeing anyone even in the neighborhood. They are getting perturbed, and this lonely feeling is causing lot of psychological trauma. The world has to come over that, and even to come over that, we need to have some kind of a cultural background. We need to have some kind of a culture manual to tell us that no, you are not the alone person, and you are not the person who is the only surviving person. There is an entire world, and everybody is with you. So everybody is with you is the important feeling. When we say ano bhadra kratavo yantu vishwatah, that means we invite all the noble thoughts to come. It's the feeling of togetherness. When we say sangachadvam samvadadvam samvo manasi janatam, we say all the noble thoughts come together. That is the feeling of organization, feeling of camaraderie. Those feelings give strength. So this is one challenge which the world is going to face. Professional trauma is one thing. Everybody is scared about his or her profession. Nobody is confident that, all right, my profession is going to survive or flourish. We don't know the fate of what is going to happen. Professional trauma is there. Health trauma is there. Because pandemic is one thing, but what about my other diseases, other illness, which were there and which is going to be there? What about that? How am I going to fight with that? How am I going to respond to that? It is a challenge. And that challenge has to be accepted. And how I am going to face that challenge is a tough task. So, so this is how I have to face the challenges. I wrote a poem about the psychology which is happening, because it has happened me and myself, only me and myself. So the poem goes, it's the title, Me and Myself. I told you, I told you not to push me towards myself. I told you not to push me towards myself. I was staying away from myself, and that was good proposition, I thought. I was running away, I was hiding my face, and was lying to myself until now. I could not do justice with me, and I lost myself in the process. Wanted to achieve something which was not meant for me, was running towards a goal which was not set for me. When you pushed me towards myself, I became scared initially. I could not face, could not communicate with myself. Now, ever since that initial hesitation has gone, we have started understanding each other and fell in love. Now I spend the whole day with me, in me. Now I spend the whole day with me, in me, walking, talking, and appreciating. It is very difficult for us now to go away and stay apart. More difficult it is, and I would like to draw your attention on this. More difficult it is to allow anyone else to enter in my space. So, this kind of loneliness is slowly creeping in our life, and we have to overcome that loneliness. Unless we overcome that loneliness, we will not create a homogeneous society, a society which cares for others. If I am only thinking of me and myself, and if I am only taking care of me and myself, maybe I will harm the person standing next to me. So we have to think about others, we have to think about everything. So the challenge is not only the health challenge, the challenge is also psychological challenge. The challenge is also behavioral challenge. The challenge is also the challenge of harmony, how to bring back the harmony in the society, how to bring back the congenial atmosphere in the society, how to bring the feeling of togetherness in the society. And that is why when people objected on the term social distancing and wanted to say it physical distancing, that was more appropriate. Because although we may not see each other, but we should stay intact, we should stay connected, we should stay together. So it is only the physical distance which is created, it is not the social distance which should be created. So those things have to be taken care in the future. And how those things will be taken care in the future, I have a 7 point 7 point suggestion which I want to give on this forum. All learned people are requested to give it a thought. Why I said 7 point? Because I know there are 7 chakras in our body that takes care of our body, that takes care of our prana. So for me, culture is prana of the human being. Culture is the prana of the society. It's the life of the society. Without culture, I cannot communicate. I cannot walk an inch. So culture is the basic essence of the society, basic fabric of the society. And if culture is the basic fabric of the society, I will give you 7 sutras, 7 C sutras. Because culture starts with C, Corona starts with C. So Corona and culture, and I am suggesting 7 points related to this. One is compassion and culture. What is the correlation between compassion and culture? We have to find out. My feeling of compassion, my feeling towards compassion, my feeling for the compassion, for everyone, in the society, and not only everyone that is human being, but every soul, every living or dead, everything. How I express my compassion towards the society, and that would be important, and that would create some kind of a relationship. So compassion and culture. Next is coexistence and culture. And when I say coexistence, it, it also involves collaboration, it also involves cooperation. How do I coexist with human being, with other surviving things, with nature? And when I say nature, it's the complete biodiversity. In that, even I am a part. So coexistence and culture, that relationship has to be evolved. That relationship has to be redesigned. That relationship has to be reframed. How how coexistence is going to help in blossoming the culture? This has to be given a thought. The third is concern and culture. And when I say concern, it is an emotional concern. All right, emotional concern towards each other. That is one thing. But then there is economical concern. There is social concern. There is political concern. There is concern related to my travel. There is concern related to my going here and there. There is concern to my meeting each other, asking about the well-being. So concern and culture has to be thought in different terms. And that is again the third C, which is important. Fourth C is again very important, that is consumption and culture. I have particularly written it as consumption. I could have written it as consumerism and culture. But when some ism is attached to something, it somehow gives a negative connotation. We realized during this lockdown that there are many things which we never required, but we accumulated. There are many things which were really of no use. When we are at home for last 50 days, we think why we have accumulated all these things which are practically of no use. And many of us might have cleared their junk, their things, their almiras and their boxes, and they must have realized this. Everything, I mean, what we have acquired is because of the heavy consumerism, and this consumerism has practically spoiled our life. I did not buy which I require. I buy which I am tempted to buy, which I am provoked to buy, and I only because he has bought it or she has bought it. Gandhiji said beautifully, the earth has enough to satisfy everybody's need, but it does not have enough to satisfy anybody's greeds. I'm not saying we are greedy, but we fall in the trap of consumerism. And now it has been realized that we can have whatever we want, but we should not have something which we really do not want. So consumption and culture again has to be re-established. Its relationship has to be re-established. There has to be a culture related to consumption. How these things can be established has to be redefined. Next is communication and culture. In fact, now there are people who have started rephrasing communication as culture itself. Because communication, the entire gamut of communication, my communication to you, my communication to the person who is away, my communication to myself, everything has to be redefined and changed. And not only that, even if I do not say anything, how am I communicating? Even a small entity which does not have life in true sense, how it is communicating? There are things which we have realized that they communicate you a lot. When you are in isolation, you realize that there are things which communicate, even if they are static, even if they are lifeless, you sort of get some kind of a communication through them. And I'm not talking about the supernatural communication which some of us, and that tradition is prevalent in India, does that. So that communication part has to be taken care of, and very seriously it has to be taken care of. How it can be denoted has to be taken care of. Next thing is which is again very important is commutation and culture. How do I communicate? And we must have realized where now, since very new terms have emerged, or new protocols have been established, that has really reframed the commutation. Like, people are skeptical about how will they go in the flight. Will there be a distance between two seats? Will there be a distance between three seats? Even in the auto rickshaw, only one person is allowed. Even in the taxi, only two persons are allowed. In a car, if the driver is there, you have to sit at the back. It's all commuting, and commuting has rephrased and reframed. So the entire culture of sharing, entire culture of caring is also some kind of changing because of this commuting culture. So the commuting culture has to be reframed. And last but not the least is the cuisine culture. I'm on a lighter note. I must say that many people have posted what kind of culinary skills they have acquired during the course of lockdown. Even people have made difficult dishes like jalebis and samosas on in their households, and practiced and showed it on Facebook. All right, it's good. But then we must also realize that what kind of cuisine is really required to be healthy. And there is a research, lot of research, that if you eat this particular diet, you are going to remain healthy. You are going to increase your capability to fight with the diseases. It gives strength to your immune system. It boosts your immune system. It boosts your digestive system. Many things. So the cuisine has its own culture, its own parameters, its own dimensions. And that has to be reframed, that has to be relooked, that has to be redesigned, redeveloped post pandemic period. Because many of us realized that this was the time when we were not doing much in the household. We focused more on our cuisine and eating habits, and realized again that what all we were eating was not all that healthy and required for our body. And the timing of taking food, and the gap we should have between two meals, and the kind of diet we should have in the morning and the kind of diet we should have in the evening, and all these things also give some kind of a background which our ancestors have taught to us. Ancestors have taught to us what should we eat, when should we eat, how should we eat, what not should we eat, and why it should not be eaten. So all these things were there in our culture. So cuisine and culture. So only to sort of remember, I have tried to draw parallel with these seven chakras. I am not an expert in this. I am only a small student who sort of think and then try to give some insight towards that. I know scholars would definitely do some research. Eminent experts would do research and can elaborate on these points. But these seven areas are supposed to be looked into more thoroughly. That is compassion and culture, coexistence and culture, concern and culture, consumption and culture, communication and culture, commutation and culture, and cuisine and culture. So if we focus on these 7 areas, I think this is going to help us a lot in designing our methodology, how we are going to fight with the situation which would arise after this pandemic is over, with the help of our strong cultural roots, our strong cultural ethos, our strong cultural backgrounds. And today, when we are discussing this on the World Cultural Day, that is the Cultural Diversity Day, it also helps us in understanding what good things, what good practices are there in other cultures, which we can imbibe in our culture, which we can incorporate in our culture. Because you see, there are geographical boundaries for countries. Geography has boundaries. Geography has borders. Culture does not have borders. Culture does not have boundaries. Culture flows beyond geographical boundaries. And that is the beauty of culture. Something which is prevalent in India may also be prevalent in Iran or in Afghanistan. That may be a different country, but we have something in common. There are some customs which are prevalent in the southeastern countries, which are exactly the same as Indian culture. There is something which is practiced in China and India in a similar way. Even there are practices which are there in Europe which are similar to Indian culture. So what good things we can exchange, what good things we can imbibe, we can incorporate in our culture, we must also take that, breaking all the rigidities, breaking all the barriers, breaking all the mental blocks. We can open our mind and try to adopt the best practices in culture, so that there may be a diversity in culture, but there can be one culture of the whole humankind. There can be a one good culture of the whole world, and that is the culture of humanity. That is the culture of prosperity. That is the culture of peace. And that is the culture of happiness. If we go towards that direction, I think we will create a world full of happiness, peace, and joy. And that is the purpose of the eternity, to create this world. So I conclude with Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kasyat Dukha Bhag Bhavet. May all be happy, may all be free of infirmities, may all see good, and may none partake sufferings. Everybody should be happy, everybody should be beyond sufferings, everybody should be healthy. And we pray the God that the world is created in a way which you have designed, which you have destined. I think with these words, we can all pledge to create a better world tomorrow.